शान्तिर्निधान्तमधिका परमास्य शक्तिः वैराग्यमद्भुततमं करुणातु सान्द्रा ज्ञानं निरस्तकुहनं मधुरं च वृत्तं नृणां निदर्शनमयं रमणो महर्षिः. My humble pranams. I feel very fortunate to take part in this global Satsang in connection with Bhagavan's Mahanirvan Aradhana Day. According to the Tamil calendar, it falls on the Tamil New Year Day. So as we all know, at 8:47 in the night, Bhagavan left his body and merged with Arunachala. The verse that I recited, Kavya Kanta, says Madhuram Chavrittam, which means his life story is a very sweet one. His childhood stories, the way he gained self-realization, and the days after that, when he left Madurai and reached Arunachalam, stayed in various parts of the temple, giving himself up totally to the newly found awareness, totally immersed in the bliss of the self, and how he slowly got back to the normal life around him, but without leaving that full awareness at any time, in Sahaja Samadhi. And slowly how he started talking from a period of great silence. And then later on, the story begins in the new ashram premises. And all through, every incident that was associated with his life is a very sweet one. That's why he says, Madhuram Chavrittam. But of all periods in his life, the last few months, 18 months or so, when he suffered this cruel disease of cancer, the incidents that happened during that time, they are the sweetest. They move you. You feel overwhelmed at times. Can there be a life like this? Can anyone accept this disease fully without fighting it, without making any complaint about it, and go through the pain? He was very careful to say that there is pain but no suffering. This is something that we cannot understand, because for suffering to take place, there must be a mind, and he had no mind at all. Pain is body's reaction, but the pain gets processed by the mind through the fears that it had accumulated. And then the suffering begins. Sometimes, even when the pain is not there, there can be suffering. So, mind is the mischief. And he had no mind. So, he bore it all. Like, 18 long months of bearing this cross. He did it without any complaint. And what is more significant is the fact that when in the earlier periods, his compassion was, grace and compassion were quite controlled, very regulated. Towards the last few months of his life, earthly life, compassion was something that was an outpouring, It drenched everybody. The previous part was like a controlled tap opening for the water to flow. The last period of his life was like a big sluice gate of a dam opening and then pouring out. His grace and compassion was of that nature. That's why whoever experienced this grace in the last few months of his earthly life, they never forgot that. And they kept on remembering those periods in their lives, those fortunate devotees, which gave them life, which made them bear the agonizing life. Nearly about a month before Bhagavan's Mahanirvanam, Suri Nagamma met him. Every Telugu New Year day, they call it as Yugadi. It's a lunar-based calendar for the Telugu people. So normally it occurs, the New Year happens a few days before the Tamil New Year. In that year, it was on the 19th of March, the Yugadi was there, and she went and presented, as was her custom, fresh towels and kaupinams, card pieces to Bhagavan. She was doing it for several years earlier. She did not want to stop the custom. She went to Bhagavan and presented them. Bhagavan opened his eyes. He was in much pain during that period. He opened his eyes, and when he recognized what she was doing, he exclaimed, "Has Yugadi already come? Has Vikriti come?" The name of the year was Vikriti. "Has Vikriti come?" The way he said it, the perplexing tone in which he uttered these words, shocked Suri Nagamma. She immediately felt that something was not right. She had a foreboding of a disaster waiting to happen. She said yes. And as in the previous occasions, whenever she met him, she used to plead with him to cure his disease. She repeated the same appeal, and at that time Bhagavan said, "Cure? Where is the cure for this at this time?" The way he said it, she broke down, she says. She wept bitterly. All along, he had been giving some kind of a hope to everybody. Everything will be all right in due course, he used to say. But then he decided to finally break the news that the end is inevitable and the devotees have to be prepared for it. All these 18 months was a long preparation time. He conditioned everybody around him, knowing that they are going to be totally broken when he left the body. He conditioned them slowly, prepared them slowly. These 18 months were, as I said, one long period of bearing the cross for the sake of others. But then the question that comes to our minds is, how can he get such a disease, such an incurable, such a dreadful disease? Person with absolute purity in his life, someone who had no grief at all, no care at all, because the mind, which is the mischief maker, is totally absent. He was of robust health till the last moment, the last 18 months, except from occasional diseases here and there. He was basically healthy. How could he have got this? We do a lot of bad things in life. All karmic effects are on us. But what kind of a karmic effect can be there on him? Why did he get it? It's a question that at some time or the other all of us would have had. The fact is that he was not suffering his karmic effects. He was suffering the karmic effects of the devotees around him. He took all their karmas on himself. And then this disease happened because of that. This is known as Parecha Prarabdha Karma. Parecha is what others have accumulated, the kind of desires that they have had, causing the prarabdham, all those karmic effects caused by others, that is known as Parecha Prarabdham. That's what has happened. He took on himself, like Lord Shiva did. The Puranic story says that he swallowed poison so that he could save the universe, and Bhagavan did the same thing. There is this interesting incident that is reported. In one of the Tamil journals it appeared. A devotee by name Krishnamurti, it seems he suddenly got a terrible pain in his index finger. Sudden pain, and he did not know what to do. He was feeling helpless. The pain was also terrible. He did not know what to do. So he decided to go and sit in front of Bhagavan. So he went to the meditation hall and sat in front of him. And after some time he noticed that Bhagavan was rubbing the same index finger on Bhagavan's hand. Bhagavan was rubbing his own hand, his index finger, where the pain of this devotee was going on. He was rubbing that finger. He continuously rubbed the finger, and then this devotee noticed it. And as Bhagavan was rubbing, the devotee's pain reduced and disappeared. Bhagavan did not even look at him, not even a glance was exchanged, not a word was spoken, and nobody else would have understood or seen or noticed anything at all. But because this devotee was suffering that, he noticed, and to his great surprise, his pain went away, and after some time, Bhagavan also stopped rubbing his finger. This is what is reported. So it very clearly shows, like this, so many hundreds and thousands of incidents must have happened, unknown to everybody else. Maybe the devotee who is fortunate enough to know what is happening, to him it is shown that he is actually taking on the other's pain on himself, and this is what he did. And it was all very natural and spontaneous. There was no sankalpam on his part to do this. He did it very naturally. So those of us who had this doubt as to how he got this because of the sins that we committed. There is no other explanation. But he bore it. He did not talk about it. He accepted it fully. He used to joke about it also. And his face was very clear. In the face, one did not see any suffering at all. The body could be seen. There used to be some reactions of the body. Some moan will escape from him. But then he did not care about it. It seems he told somebody, even the pain is not apart from the self. So what is it that we should withdraw from? The pain is also the self. Who can say this? Only a Bhagavan can say such a thing. In fact, the last 18 months was a clear demonstration of the supreme Vedantic truths on his part. Vedanta says that you are not the body, you are not the mind. Whatever is happening is just an appearance. The only thing that is there is consciousness, and everything else is just imagination. This truth was being demonstrated by Bhagavan to prove that Vedanta is not just a dry philosophy, It is not just a philosophy, it is something that is experiential in nature. One can experience that bliss even when the body is going through such an unbelievable amount of pain. Bhagavan used to, towards the end, translate some of the verses from Yoga Vasishtam and other books, Bhagavatam and other books, which talked about a jnani's attitude towards the body. He wrote a Tamil verse which begins with Tanu Nilai Iladam. This body is not stable. And that was from Srimad Bhagavatam. Whether the body is moving about or is at rest, it is not the truth. It is not real. The body is not real. It may be engaged in some activity or the other. It may go about or it may rest. But the body will not be experienced by the jnani. And this shlokam in Srimad Bhagavatam gives the example of a person who is drunk. In a drunken condition, the drunkard does not even notice whether there is a dress covering up his body or not, whether the dress has slipped off, whether he is naked or not, he does not realize because of his drunken condition. So this verse compares a jnani to a drunkard, but the jnani is drunk with a different kind of a bliss, the atmic bliss. And in that state, a jnani, just as a drunkard not aware of his own dress, jnani is not aware of the dress that he wears as a body. And he also translated another verse which said that even if you cut a sugar cube, either you hammer it, crush it, or you cut it and make it into a powder, each piece of the sugar cube that is crushed will continue to be sweet. Similarly, even if this body is cut into pieces, the jnani still continues to be blissful because his identity with the body is totally broken. So like this, he used to translate verses just for the benefit of the others, just to tell them that they may look on him as being a sufferer. They may look at him and then feel that Bhagavan is suffering so much. But in truth, he does not have any suffering at all because he has no body consciousness whatsoever. So this is the demonstration that he was giving in so many different levels and so many different ways. He was giving this kind of a demonstration. He used to say that body itself is a disease. Why are you worried about the body? The disease of a disease has got no significance at all for a jnani. This is what he used to say. Arthur Osborne writes about another interesting thing that he noticed. He says that even as he weakened, his face grew gentler. Even as his body weakened, his face grew gentler, more gracious, more radiantly beautiful. At times, his beauty was almost painful to behold. What beautiful words. The surgeons who operated upon him, they were not able to believe the total acceptance, the serenity in his face as he bore it all so well. There are so many stories like this. Balrama Reddy Garu said this in one of his conversations, that he would, in the Nirjana room, the place where Bhagavan spent the last few months of his, this final period, when he entered the Nirvana room, Balrama Reddy Garu noticed a diffused light in the whole room. He was actually wondering where from that light was coming. And he concluded that it must be coming from Bhagavan himself, because he could not identify the light source. And in fact, he said he felt that because of his familiarity with Bhagavan, because of his knowledge of many of the scriptures and other things, maybe this light was seen by him and identified as coming from Bhagavan. But then he had a relative who was a minister in the Madras presidency, as it was known at that time. He wanted to see Bhagavan. He had not seen Bhagavan before. When he came to know that he was not going to be around any longer, he wanted to make a visit. And because Balram Reddy Garu was a relative of his, with his help, Balram Reddy took some permission from the ashram authorities and took this minister who was seeing Bhagavan for the first time into the Nirvana room. Bhagavan opened his eyes and looked at them very graciously, and these people stood there for some time, prostrated before Bhagavan, and returned. On the way back, this minister asked Balram Reddy, "What is that light in his room that I saw? What is that light?" he asked. Then Balram Reddy knew that it was not something that is imagined by him because of his scholarship or because of his association. It was a visible light seen by total strangers around Bhagavan. Then Balram Reddy, being Balram Reddy, he suddenly remembered, with a flash of memory, he remembered years earlier Kavyakanta had written about this in his Chatvarimsat verse. The very second verse, he says, Ghana Gudha Sahasra Karena Yata Tanu Kanjuka Gupta Maha Mahasa. So he says, like the sun concealed by a cloud, he hides his great effulgence in his body, which acts as an armor, as a kavacham, as a shield. He has been all along hiding the splendor within himself and acting like a normal person. But then as the body started crumbling, this light came out more and more, became more visible. He could not hide it any longer. That is the explanation that Balram Reddy Garu thought. And it was the light that left the body, was visible throughout the country. Those who were lucky, many of them may not have even known what it was. They could see this meteor-like thing slowly rising from the ground, going up very slowly, seen all around, slowly going behind the hill and disappearing there. So Bhagavan merged in Arunachala in this manner. After he left the body, just before the time when everybody who gathered around him knew that the end was near, then they all broke out into singing Aksharamana Malai spontaneously. Till the time Bhagavan had kept his eyes closed, and when this singing started, it seems he opened his eyes and there was a brilliance in his face. There was a luster in his eyes, and with the help of his attendants, he sat up. In that condition, he sat up, and there were tears of bliss from his eyes when he heard Aksharamana Malai sung. There is especially this verse towards the end where Bhagavan had sung this years earlier. Vittidir Kashtamam, Vittida Adonai Uyir, Vittida Arul Puri Arunachala. Arunachala, at the time when the life leaves the body, please grant me this wish that I should remember your name. And now that was happening. People broke out into that song spontaneously, and there were tears of bliss in his face. The light left the body. But people who were there at that time, assembled at that time, they all felt, except for a few, a great peace descending on them. Very strange. People who could not have borne this separation, they were granted this great blessing of the peace that descended on them. Everyone felt very peaceful. Annamalai Swami says, who was outside the ashram, he had not visited the ashram for a very long time. He had a terrible disease in his stomach, and he knew that Bhagavan was leaving his body, so unable to bear the pain on that day, he used to get information from the ashram occasionally, but he did not know what was happening inside. So he says that he went up the terrace just to get some fresh air because the pain in his stomach was terrible. He saw the star at that time rising up, and he knew that Bhagavan left his body. And he says, as he saw the light, the terrible pain in his body also left. He did not get it again. So the suffering, the physical suffering of this devotee also went, and there was great peace all around. That's what everybody say. Those who saw the body, they realized how terrible the pain must have been. The yogis say that the body of a yogi would be fresh and it will not, crumble and, have the usual signs of death. But then Bhagavan said that there is absolutely no such condition, that the body of a yogi or a jnani should not be like an ordinary body. Because the jnani had already abandoned the body. The moment he realized, there was no connection with the body. So whether the body, merges in, disappears totally, leaving no trace behind, or goes through a terrible disease and crumbles, it does not matter to the jnani. It is all to the onlookers. So we were all looking at him as a person having a body, but he was an ashariri. He was a bodiless person. So this is how the final moments came. But then the body was never his true form. This is what he was telling everybody all the time. Body is not my true form. His form was formlessness. This was something that people could not realize, people could not understand. And even now we cannot understand what it is. He was never the body. But even though he is not with the body now, the presence is as usual, so very strong as before. In fact, even stronger. Because his original form, which is Arunachala, is standing there. That is his form. For a brief period of time, that Arunachala took a manifestation in the form of this body, we called as Ramana Maharshi, and taught what needs to be taught, and then went back, withdrew itself, and then went back into the. So all the stories, every single story during that time, everybody had some experience of the other as they walked past that Samadhi hall, Samadhi Nirvana room. Each one had some experience of the other, and they were all so very precious. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this beautiful verse. It is called as the Gopika Geetam. In that, this verse occurs. Tava katha amritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham shravana mangalam srimadhatatam bhuvi grinanti te bhurida janaha. The Gopikas are dancing with Krishna And each one of them had a Krishna to dance with. And each one of them started feeling proud that Krishna is with me. So when he sensed their pride, Krishna withdrew his form and disappeared. And not able to bear that separation, they all gather together, they realize their mistake and they start singing. And this is one of the verses in that. Tava Kathamritam. Each one of your stories is nectarine in nature. Tapta Jivanam. In our parched life, burnt by this samsaric burden, you are like fresh water pouring onto us, like Amrita Varsham. And we are illiterate people. What is it that we can talk about you? These stories are to be handled by great kavis, great poets. Kavi bhiriditam, kalmashapaham. This is the most important thing. Kalmashapaham. Our sins are taken out. We are cleansed. Our mind is cleansed. When we hear these stories, Shravana Mangalam, so auspicious to hear. Listen to these stories. And they are the greatest of wealth. Each one story is a great wealth for us. So this verse that was sung thousands of years back by Shuka Brahmam so aptly describes Bhagavan and the last months of his life. Shravana Mangalam. Bhuvi grinanti te bhurida janaha. Bhurida janaha. We are all saturated with the bliss of listening to this story. So, this is the effect of reading about Bhagavan or listening to his stories. Our sins are washed off and he has not left us. He was never with the body. A Jivan Mukta, yes, a Mukta, even without a body, Jivan Neva Muktaha. And how can a non-existent body can disappear? This is what we should think. He is there, his presence is there, and it is becoming stronger and stronger and is spreading all around. In its own pace, it spreads all around, it attracts maybe not all the people, but there are fortunate few who feel attracted to him, who come to him from all parts of the world. This global Satsang proves that. From all parts of the world they come to him. Just reading one book or the other, just looking at one photograph or the other, they all come to him. And all of them, they derive this immense satisfaction. Bhurida janaha. Saturated with the bliss of knowing about his presence. So with this I will conclude. Thank you.
Bhagavan Sri Ramanaya. A cow called Lakshmi. When we imagine that moksha occurs only in humans, but in June 1948, cow Lakshmi attained liberation in the arms of her master, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. Loved by all for her abiding devotion, she was acknowledged by Bhagavan and devotees even in her own time. Gentle, charming and lovable, Lakshmi is in her personality. One cannot help but to adore. Her life story is both endearing and inspiring. We now present to you how she came to her feet of her Guru and how she was led by him. In 1926, a certain Arunachala Pillai presented a cow and a calf to Sri Ramana as a token of his devotion. Bhagavan tried to dissuade him as the Aruna ashram did not have the necessary facilities for the animals to be cared for properly. But Arunachala Pillai was very adamant. Namaskaram, Bhagavan. Please accept this common menu as an offering.
How can we? There isn't enough space for humans, much less for animals.
Bhagavan, surely there's space somewhere in a small corner of the ashram?
Would a small corner be enough? Besides, we need a shed. Besides, there needs to be someone to look after them.
Somebody will come who can look after them. Bhagavan, all that's required is a place in Bhagavan's heart.
Why all this for us?
For a long time, I wanted to present Bhagavan with a cow, and now I'm in a position to do so. I bought them by boat and train after a good deal of trouble. Please keep them, Swami.
You've done your duty in presenting them to us. But who is there to look after them? Please, take them away and keep them with you on our behalf.
Please, Bhagavan, I cannot. I will not take them away, even if you cut my throat.
All right.
Bhagavan smiles, chuckling as he goes inside the ashram as the cow and the calf begin a new life at the holy feet of Arunachala. A year passed until one eclipse day in December, the caretaking Pasupati visited the ashram, bringing with him the mother and her calf. The calf, nearly full grown, fixed her attention on Bhagavan. Bhagavan, in turn, gazed at her. Bhagavan, in my past life, I must have earned some merit to be entrusted with this cow and calf.
You were good, very good. You was taking care for them very nicely. The calf has developed well and is quite beautiful.
Oh, look, what a sight! The calf is so excited to see Bhagavan and it's going around him with such devotion.
Don't say it's going around, say she is going around. Aren't animals living beings and reality the self?
Forgive me, Bhagavan, a slip of the tongue. The golden hand of Bhagavan has touched this calf. How blessed he is!
You are actually named Pasupati, meaning the Lord of Animals. Where are you coming just now?
Pali Tirtham, today being a solar eclipse, we came to have our baths to show Bhagavan his cow and calf and to have his darshan. While Bhagavan and Pasupati talk, the calf explores the ashram and then returns. Finally, Pasupati prostrates with reveration to Bhagavan and departs with the mother and the calf. The following day, to everyone's surprise, the little calf came bounding into the ashram and up into the entrance of the hall. Bhagavan was in the hall correcting a text and Ramana Brahmachari was next to him. She entered and made her way towards Bhagavan as others looked on.
Little girl, what's the matter?
Look how happy she is to see Bhagavan. It's as though she was saying, I've come back, Bhagavan, I've come back. There, see, she's licking Bhagavan's hand.
My child, what makes you so happy?
Bhagavan pets her as she licks his hand. This continues for some time. Finally, as a result of the natural roughness of the calf's tongue and her affectionate licking, the skin of Bhagavan had reddens, which causes the devotees to be concerned. And Bhagavan is not bothered. He hugs the calf fondly and pats her head. The mother is nowhere to be seen, Bhagavan. Neither is Pashupati.
Little girl, after you've been here for a while, you will return home like a good girl. All animals know the way they come from and they know where they come back.
The calf's visit became more frequent. Most mornings she turns up at about the same time to visit Bhagavan, spent the whole day at the ashram and returns with a great reluctance in the evening. One morning, on the day of Bhagavan's birthday celebrations, when all the devotees were engaged In the preparation, Ramana and Brahmachari saw Bhagavan in the cow descending the mountain path.
She's grown up, hasn't she?
She seems to know that today is Bhagavan's Jayanti celebrations. She's come to receive Bhagavan's blessings.
Oh, little girl. What? I can't just keep calling you little girl, can I?
Yes, Bhagavan. Should she be given a name?
Yes, yes. All the girls and boys here have names. She came here on a Friday she was born on a Friday and came to us on a Friday. As Friday is the day of the Mother Goddess, shouldn't we call her Lakshmi?
Yes, Bhagavan. That's a perfect name. She's so magnificent. Besides, we're celebrating Bhagavan's birthday today. All the more auspicious.
Good. Now our beloved caste is Christian Lakshmi.
Lakshmi reverently rests her head on Bhagavan's feet. Bhagavan reaches down and pats her gently. Like a mother and child, the two remain like this for some time.
Seeking Grace. Sri Arunagirinathar is an unparalleled poet who had composed thousands of heart-melting devotional songs on Lord Muruga, his guru. They are compiled under many collections. The most important collection among them is Tirupugar, which packs not only the praises of Lord Muruga, but stories from Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Mahabharatam, Shiva Puranam, and also the Upanishadic and Vedic teachings. The poems are rhythmic compositions in all possible meters that expound the ultimate truth. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was believed to be the incarnation of Lord Muruga by many, including Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. Bhagavan himself mentioned in his letter when leaving Madurai that he was undertaking a journey in search of his father, Lord Arunachala. Here is a maiden attempt to sing the praises of Bhagavan, son and disciple of Arunachala, following the footsteps of Sri Arunagirinathar. We are presenting these poems in the tune set for Arunagirinathar's Tirupugar by Tirupugar Gana Ratnam Guruji A.S. Raghavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Arunaya கருணை நல்லேடுமலை அகமுறை பொருளென ஒரு சுழி மகனூரது இதயமுள் ஒலி குரல் அது செவி மடு சிவ குரு பரய மதுயில் பெருமாளே இகமதில்லாதொழுகும் எமை கவர் புற உலகு இனிதன விழைவுகள் இழுவலை அதில் விழும் இழி செயல் செய்ய முனை எமதிழி வடமயில் மிக ஊறி இழுபறி முழுவிலி எவை எவை அவை பிடி இயல் மன